The city of Los Angeles is spending nearly $850,000 to house one homeless person. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting topic to be going over today, and it's the homelessness issue. Now, I've covered this topic in some of my other videos and how it relates to landlords and real estate investors, but, it's really interesting some of the things that some of these far left-leaning progressive cities are doing in order to tackle the homeless issue. So, the thought is by a lot of people that the homelessness issue is caused because there is a lack of affordable housing. But as I've said many times before, the homelessness issue isn't, that simple, okay? A lot of the people who are homeless, or at least long-term homeless, they have mental health issues and they have drug problems, okay? It's very, very simple. Now, one of my biggest gripes is that they expect landlords to be the ones who, house these people because they can't afford, housing, and that's just not right, okay? I mean, if these people a lot of them are suffering from these mental health or drug issues, then landlords, they can't be expected to go out of their way and take these people into their properties. And at the same time, I do believe that there is some use of the government there, especially for people with serious mental health issues, okay? Normally, I'm not a big proponent of government stepping in and doing something that private business should be doing, but there isn't a lot of incentive for people to be helping out with this sort of issue. And it's a issue that affects pretty much everybody who's living within a city where there's, a big homeless problem. So yeah, it's an interesting thing. Now, I just read this article that said that the city of Los Angeles was trying to build housing for the homeless because they have budgeted, billions of dollars in the state of California to try to fix this homelessness issue. But you wouldn't believe how much money it costs for one unit. And according to this article, it's nearly $837,000 for one unit to house one homeless person. I mean, that's nuts. But you know what the problem is? Bureaucracy, of course, okay? Now, when they put all these socialist systems in place, they don't take into account the fact that, hey, governments, they aren't developers. They're not real estate investors. They don't understand how things should be done. They have all of these, we have all these good intentions, but once you throw in all the red tape and all of the ridiculous union contracts to build stuff, etc., and then, they're getting just completely wasteful with all of the money that they have, and the end result is that it costs more to build a home for a homeless person than it does to build a home for somebody who actually has a job and can actually afford a home. I mean, I bet you money that a real estate developer building a for-profit development could build housing for way cheaper than the city of Los Angeles is in this case, okay? Now, before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below and let me know what you think, okay? Do you think that the issue with all of this ridiculous cost for building a single unit, do you think that has to do with bureaucracy, or is it something else? Is it the cost of lumber going up? I really don't think that the cost of lumber made the cost of one unit in Los Angeles cost $837,000. I mean, even worst case scenario, I mean, the land, yeah, it's very valuable in LA, but man, this is so ridiculous, it's not even funny. I mean, you have to wonder, are the contractors, are they price gouging the government because they know they have money? Maybe that's the case in some situations, okay? But it's out of control. You'll never be able to solve the homeless issue if it's going to cost this much to build housing, okay? Anyway, this article is coming from KTLA.com, and it says, Los Angeles is spending up to $837,000 to house a single homeless person. That is ridiculous. Okay, but let's get into the article and see what it says. A $1.2 billion program intended to quickly build housing for Los Angeles' sprawling homeless population is moving too slowly while costs are spiking, with one project under development expected to hit as much as $837,000 for each housing unit, a city audit disclosed Wednesday. About 1,200 units have been completed since voters approved the spending in 2016, which was then a centerpiece in a strategy intended to get thousands of people off the streets. But the tally of units built so far is wholly inadequate in the context of the homeless crisis, said the audit issued by the city comptroller, Ron Galperin. In recent years, homeless encampments have spread into virtually every neighborhood, while the population has climbed to an estimated 41,000 people. Many are drug addicted or mentally ill, and violence is commonplace. So yeah, they built 1,200 units, and they've got more than 41,000 people who are homeless sitting on the streets right now. So yeah, you do the math. That isn't nearly enough units to house the number of homeless people. Not only that, but those units weren't built for the kind of people who are out on the streets right now. Those units were built for, probably very, very low income people, but they're still functioning people. The people who are out on the streets, a lot of them are just, they're so out of society that they can't function within a normal rental unit. Okay, so that it kind of doesn't make sense, really. I mean, like they said, it's wholly inadequate. So they spent, what is it? They started in 2016, so it's been 6 years. Spent, just hundreds of millions of dollars, and they got 1,200 units, and the population on the streets has gone up. Now, this obviously is not a solution, but you know what? Part of the issue is the fact that they decriminalized, so many of the public nuisance laws and everything in Los Angeles. Okay, so now it's no longer illegal to just pop your tent up on the sidewalk or in a park and just live there. Okay, that's why the homelessness problem has grown so bad. They took away all of these little laws that they used to enforce on these people, and you think they didn't notice? They were like, hey, we can just go over here, we can do whatever we want, we can use drugs out on the street, we can have an open air drug market, we can panhandle, we can bother the hell out of normal people who live in this city, and the police won't do anything, the county won't do anything, we won't get arrested, we won't get charged. Even if we do get arrested, they'll just let us out immediately. So there's no consequences for their actions, and they created that with their extremely far left-leaning liberal policies. Okay, so hey, California, you created this issue, and now you're sitting here wondering, well, what do we do about it? What do we do about it? Well, God, open your eyes and realize that something has to be done that is different than what you're doing right now. Just throwing $1.2 billion at the problem obviously isn't a solution. The program is still unable to meet the demands of the homelessness crisis, Galperin said in a letter accompanying the 31-page report. The pace of development is sluggish, he said, while the cost of each unit continues to rise, in some cases to staggering heights. Most of the units are studio or one-bedroom apartments. The audit found 14% of the units built exceeded $700,000 each, and one project in pre-development is estimated to cost almost $837,000 per unit. The audit noted that higher prices for construction materials during the pandemic, including lumber, along with labor shortages, could be contributed to rising costs. Yeah. I mean, obviously, there were a lot of construction materials, etc., that were in, high demand, and that caused prices to go up. And the labor shortage didn't help either. Okay, but one of the biggest issues is where they're deciding to actually build these homeless shelters and this housing for the homeless. If you're going to choose the most expensive area where the land costs so much, then it's going to cost a fortune to build on that little plot of land. If there's something you have to tear down first, it's going to cost even more, to tear the existing facility down. I mean, the honest truth is that it's going to be very expensive to build housing in Los Angeles, regardless of where you build it. Okay, it's just a very, very expensive area. But $837,000 seems almost insane, especially when we're talking about for one studio apartment. What exactly is going on? Okay, And I think it has to do with, I mean, if it's not corruption, then it's absolute incompetence, okay? Because there's no way that it would cost a private developer, if a private developer was building a bunch of, just average cost, low-end studio apartments in a single building, then there's no way they'd be spending $837,000 per unit. Okay, unless it was a very, very high-end luxury facility. And, that just doesn't make sense when we're talking about the homeless people here. So, yeah, once again, this is a perfect example of why bureaucracy and all these socialist programs and all these far left-leaning things are completely ridiculous, okay? And like I've said, in plenty of my previous videos, if you're a landlord out there in California, not only do they hate your guts out there, but you got to deal with ridiculous stuff like this. $1.2 billion so they can build $850,000 studio apartments for homeless people. This is how ridiculous it is out there. This is why your taxes are so high, and this is why you should just get your money out of there or go invest as a landlord or in real estate somewhere else.